Have you been keeping up on Andor at all?
No, I watched that first
Oh,
season and
man.
I just not my cup of tea.
Okay, I gotta admit, I'm really disappointed by the second. I'm not even all the way through, so I really
Oh,
shouldn't.
okay.
I'm really disappointed with the way that they have taken it. It's too slow. I feel
That's how I
like,
felt about the first season. And I'm in the extreme minority there, so
yeah,
I try to keep my mouth shut about it.
I feel like I'm in well, yeah. So like episode 4 of the first season, it does kind of pick up. Like you're like, okay, this makes sense. Now I know what's going. I kind of know the plan, right?
Yeah,
They're being so secretive. It's almost like a I can't even describe it. There's like a secret op within a secret op.
that doesn't sound ideal.
Yeah, it is. It's not ideal. So, but yeah, I recommend
Okay.
the show to everyone.
Yeah. Oh, it really. Yeah, it sounds like it.
I mean,
Sounds like it.
start at season 1. It's good. It's good. Maybe it'll be.
Okay.
I'm really hoping
Okay.
that I'm wrong. I'm really hoping I'm wrong. But
Yeah.
so
I
far it's
hope it
tough.
works out for you.
Yeah, me too. Welcome to This Endorian Life, a nostalgic Star Wars podcast from the Radio Meanwhile Network. My name is Steve Rudd.
I'm Nick Gunning, and we're taking apart the world of Star Wars Lego brick by brick.
Ooh, I like that. Today we are watching Lego Star Wars: The Padawan Menace. This special originally aired July 22nd, 2011 on the Cartoon Network.
Correct.
Wow, 2011. It actually looked really good. I'm
It did.
surprised. I would have, if you had asked me to guess, I'd have been like maybe like 2019. It looked pretty sharp. I think
Yeah.
this is
Yeah.
about the era where they perfected the look of the Lego. I think maybe some of the more intricate heads, like a Jar Jar head, or the Akbar head, maybe needed a little bit more work. But
The color was crisp, and yeah, overall it was.
the music was great.
Yeah.
The color was really crisp. That's right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
it was
was.
good.
I think it was designed for Blu-ray. And I'll tell you, the series was released on Blu-ray on September 16th,
Oh.
2011. It included an exclusive Young Ian minifig. And I remember this crystal
Huh.
clear. I remember being in Walmart and having like a big wall, like a standing display
Yeah.
of these with like the Blu-ray and the minifig and everything. Because I was tempted to buy it. Like even then, I was like, I need this for my own. So I think there was some money behind it. I think they were really trying to promote it hard.
Yeah. I feel like I do. Now that you mentioned the minifig, I think I do remember that.
Yeah.
Because I
Yeah,
remember
I
looking at it and
remember.
being,
Yeah, I picked
yeah.
it up a couple of times, and I was like, "Oh, it's only 20 minutes." And this was when Blu-rays were. I guess now
Yeah.
they're expensive again, but that was at a time when it was. It was probably 20 plus bucks, and
I think it was probably
you
like
know,
$29.99, and I'm like,
yeah, it could
what?
have
Like,
been. Could have been.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but no, I do remember it coming out. I did always want to watch it, and I never have watched it before. Just when I
Me
watched it
either.
for this, so it
Yeah.
was fun to finally see it. But anyway, it was written by Michael Price, who would go on to write episodes of Droid Tales and Yoda Chronicles. It was directed by David Scott, who would direct for the series Thunderbirds Are Go after this. Also, he voices
Oh.
Obi-Wan, Anakin, and Lobot.
Oh,
The
no way.
director. Yeah, I mean, each of those is basically like a one-line little like cameo sort of thing. But yeah, he
Yeah.
does. So that was kind of fun. We have Nika Fetterman and Tom Kane reprising their roles from Clone Wars of Ventress and Yoda. Phil Lamar as Vader in a not funny recurring joke. He also voiced Jar Jar Binks and Bail Organa. We have R. Martin Klein as Palpatine. I thought this was a terrible Palpatine voice.
Yes.
Wasn't it weird?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm glad it
I
wasn't
can do a
just
better
I
Palpatine
think you
voice.
probably could.
Yeah.
In fact, in our Darth Plagueis episode, I believe you did.
Oh,
In
oh yeah.
Yeah.
I know, but it's
Have you heard
the
the
Lego
story?
Palpatine.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
You got to be like this.
That's-
Yes, I'm the Emperor.
Yeah, it has to be a rip-off Seth MacFarlane. So at least he wasn't doing that.
That's so true.
Then we have Rob Paulson here as Commander Cody. We recently heard Rob Paulson as Ooby Doo Banooby on Thumb Wars, so glad to have him back in the fold.
Oh yeah.
As far
Oh
as
my
classic
gosh.
returning players, it's really just the one, and that's our man Anthony Daniels here as C-3PO.
There must be something in his contract that only he can be
Yeah.
C3PO. Like, what, man, when he goes and they're like the very first C3PO thing they do, they're going to have to like AI his voice because no one
I feel like
can do it.
I don't know. I feel like it's kind of you could imitate that voice. I think you could. I
Yeah,
don't
you
know.
think so?
We'll see.
Good practice,
We'll see.
maybe yeah.
He'll live forever.
I mean,
but
they can't do Palpatine.
That's true.
Palpatine's terrible, you know.
That's
like
true. Yeah.
that was the first thing when he spoke in the Senate. I was like, oh no.
Yeah,
It's
it
like
was
not
bad.
even close.
It was bad.
Oh man.
Our
Yeah.
featured cast member here today is Katie Lee. Katie Lee voices Ian in this special. She's a voice actress with a long and illustrious career, including such roles as Rolf in The Muppet Babies, Dumbo in Dumbo's Circus, Honker in Darkwing Duck, and even voiced a role in The Karate Kid, My Brother's Keeper, the episode we covered in our last episode here.
Whoa, wait. Who was Katie Lee the voice of?
I don't know because IMDb and in the episode credits were just like additional voices. Even James Avery was listed as additional voices. So I don't know who she voiced, but she only was in one episode of Karate Kid, and it was the one that we covered. So I was like, that's Kismet.
Yeah, I don't know. That's cool though. Yeah, the very episode.
Yeah. All right, well, let's dive in. Tell me about the Padawan Menace.
All right. Well, first, okay, I always write it.
You
this
do.
time I didn't write it.
Okay.
I didn't write it. I pulled this off Wikipedia because I had a lot. That was good. I had a lot of trouble writing it because there's so much stuff happens. It was tough to like disseminate. Let's get into it. The uber detailed plot of Star Wars Lego: The Padawan Menace. Grandmaster Yoda has just arrived back on Coruscant from the Outer Rim with a group of younglings on a field trip. They enter the Senate building to take a tour, headed by 3PO and R2D2. As they walk inside, a young child who had snuck away from an orphanage by shipping himself in a box emerges from the ship and joins the group on their tour. Meanwhile, Asajj Ventress is also in the Senate building, having just stolen secret battle plans with the intention of delivering them to Palpatine and plan an attack on Coruscant. While on their tour, the young child, known as Ian, stirs up trouble, causing C-3PO, R2-D2, and the rest of the younglings to flee into space, where they find themselves in the middle of a battle between Republic and Trade Federation forces. While avoiding destruction, they accidentally end up on Obi-Wan's hyperdrive docking ring, jumping them to Tatooine. Meanwhile, Yoda and Commander Cody battle with Ventress and a small group of droids back at the Senate building. Ventress is captured, but a battle droid escapes with the plans, causing Yoda and Cody to pursue. While in space, it's revealed that Ian had sneaked aboard Yoda and Cody's ship. The droid ship is tracked to Hoth, where Yoda and Ian go after the plans. In the cold, they find a Tauntaun for shelter, where they encounter the battle droid with the plans. After recovering the plans, they are attacked by droidekas, but manage to escape with the plans after a brief battle. Back on Tatooine, C-3PO, R2-D2, and the other younglings look for passage off the planet and back to Coruscant because their ship had been scavenged by Jawas while 3PO had his back turned. After heading to Chalmun's Spaceport Cantina, C-3PO sneaks into it in hopes of finding a ride, rather hilariously, actually, disguised in a cloak so he's not seen as a droid. Meanwhile, the younglings are mistaken for the Cantina band. When C-3PO is discovered to be a droid, the group is captured and sent to Jabba the Hutt, where the younglings are caged and C-3PO has to fight R2-D2 for Jabba's amusement. Interesting. After encouragement from the younglings and a few mind tricks, the two droids help free the children and attempt to escape Jabba's custody. However, they are stopped by the Rancor. But seconds later, they are rescued by Ian and Yoda just in time. Everyone arrives on Coruscant, packed like sardines, where they are rewarded for bravery. During this award ceremony, it is revealed that Ian's name is Han, and that the I on his name tag was sideways the whole time, meaning he is actually named Han. Han Solo.
What a
Roll
twist.
credits.
What a twist.
What a twist.
Very
Yeah.
clever the way they did that, because in the beginning, when he's breaking into the tour, he grabs the letters to make himself a name tag, and he just has the capital I. It's turned sideways, and so like he just
Yep.
flips it back so it's an H instead of a capital I. I thought that was pretty clever. I knew because I looked at I was working on the
You
document for
looked it
this
up.
episode, and I was like, oh, but I watched this with my son who didn't know, and he was delighted by that twist. So it's pretty
That's
cool.
awesome.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah. I thought it was clever.
It
Everything was
was.
clever.
It was. And if obviously there's lots of things. He says, I have a bad feeling about
Bad
this.
feeling about it.
He says,
Yeah.
I thought
I
they
was going to
smelled
say
bad.
that. Cody said
Yeah.
something like, yeah.
Yep. He says, I thought they smelled bad on the outside at one point. And he's wearing the shirt. I mean, that's like the classic. I think of that as like, when he comes out of the
He
carbonite.
was wearing the shirt. Yeah.
So like it's all there, but I thought that was cool. I thought that worked well, and like putting him in that place and everything, and
Yeah.
I was pretty pleased with it.
It did make me think back, like after it was revealed, I was like, oh, when is this in the timeline? And it's like, oh yeah, so if Luke's like 20, Han's like 30, it kind of makes sense, right? Han's been around a little bit more.
Yeah.
So yeah, like it did get me to think like, wait, oh man, I didn't even realize where we were kind of in the universe until that moment. I was like, oh, that actually does kind of work.
No, I thought they stuck the landing
funny.
pretty well. When Ventress first shows up and she's being chased and she has the plans, she like throws out a bunch of stuff like Lego pieces, and they like assemble into like Roger droid. And I thought that was a really cool use of Lego.
That was a cool scene.
It was neat.
There was a couple like slow-mo scenes that they did that were pretty good. I thought. I'll have to get to that though in my Ichiwawa.
Okay.
It seems like they really did throw a bunch of production quality into this. Like, and they nailed it. Like there was one time that bugged me. The scene in the Senate when all of the Senate like little pods are going all over the place. There was almost virtually no sound to them.
Oh, yeah.
So it was weird. Like they were very quiet. If you go back and look at that scene, it's like, oh, awkward. Like there should have been more like going on to kind of make the scene more chaotic. But it was very quiet. And I thought, oh, that was a weird scene. It felt weird.
Yeah.
But like way better. The look.
Yeah.
Right? The Lego pieces looked great.
I mean, we're coming out of Quest for R2-D2 and Bombad Bounty and stuff, so
that's true, yeah.
And Revenge of the Brick, I'll never get over. But maybe that's why it looks so good to us. But I thought there was some funny. There's one point where they're like escaping and they run up to another ship, and there's a Darth Maul-esque Sith in there, and I didn't recognize who it was. So my son was like, "I think that's Darth Maul's brother." And I looked it up, and I think it is Savage Opress.
Is he like orange? He's like orangish, right?
Yeah.
Yep. That was. I think you're right because I thought the same thing. I was like, oh.
Well, yeah, because I mean the version of Anakin and I guess Obi-Wan that we saw were more like Revenge of the Sith era, because the Anakin we saw was the longer hair and everything, so that makes sense. But I don't know. I thought that was cool. I thought when they're barreling down on that planet, and there's one of the sand people being like, and the ship crashes into him so fast. It was very slapsticky in a way that I found funny. Like I liked it.
There was a lot of slapstick, a lot of jokes. It almost felt like this was a spoof of all the Star Wars stuff. It was almost like the beginning of like the Rebuild the Galaxy, where like Rebuild, they could just like spoof it by being opposite.
Yeah, right.
Where this felt like they were just mocking themselves.
Yeah.
Every minute there was something.
When C-3PO and R2 are on the planet and it looks very Tatooine-y, and C-3PO is like, oh, I guess we're stuck here or whatever, and the theme comes in and you see the two suns, and then it pulls away and there just keeps being more and more suns.
It's like
it's like seven
like a frowny
suns.
face.
Yeah. I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah, that's very spoofy. Yeah, I thought that was.
Yeah,
and then like C-3PO like barfs into R2's like body.
Yeah,
after they land. Yeah, like there was a lot of slapstick, a lot of funny stuff. Some of it landed really well, and a lot was like, oof, they're trying way too hard. The joke's bad. It keeps reoccurring. Still doesn't work. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about, and it's definitely my
Oh
Oak
yeah.
of Arc, so I refuse to comment on it at this point. You mentioned timeline stuff, and when they showed the clip from A New Hope, that kind of bugged me a little bit. Even though,
Did it?
it's a Google, yeah,
Oh,
because I mean it was cool to see, but then like that's way after all of this. And
it's
so
way after,
I
but
was kind
yeah,
of
like
like,
it's
I don't know. But again, kids,
true. Yeah,
so maybe I'm
kids.
just being a stickler, but that stood out to
I
me a
thought
little
that
bit.
scene was kind of funny. Like,
It's
hey,
fun.
wait a
No,
minute,
it is
remember?
funny. It is
You
funny.
know?
Yeah.
But you're right. That does place it incorrectly.
Yeah.
It does
That's
because
what it
that's
was. It
supposed to
just kind
happen
of,
like 20 years later.
right. Yeah. So that threw me off a little bit. Yoda, when they're flying, he says something to Han about being a good pilot. And I thought that was kind of a cool little nod stuff too.
Yeah.
Honestly, I really thought that it was pretty fun all the time. There's a couple places, like going back to what you said about the comedy, that I felt like it was a little weird. Like C-3PO quotes Scarface at one point. He's like, "Say hello to my
Yeah.
metal friends," and that was
To my
like
metal friends.
it
Yeah.
pulls out the double blasters, and I was like, that's kind of a different humor than we're going. I mean, it was funny, but like it stood out
Yeah.
to me a little bit just in that it was different from the other kind of more slapsticky stuff they were doing.
So I got a question.
Okay,
So Cody gets blasted
right.
by Asajj Ventress, and Yoda does put him back together. Is Jar Jar just dead?
That's a good question. They didn't seem too concerned about that, so maybe that was just a little bit
Yeah.
of fan service.
Maybe he could just be put back
Yeah,
together like
I don't know.
Cody was. Like,
Mhm.
I don't, does anybody actually die then? You know,
Maybe they're like, yeah, we can put him back together, but there's no rush.
but there's no rush. Yeah, like,
Just take your
but,
time.
but does anybody want
Take your time.
to? I mean, like
Yeah,
all the King's horses,
right.
and all the King's men took their time putting Jar Jar back together again.
Right. We're in no rush putting him back together again.
Well, yeah.
Let's get into the Oak of Arcs. What was your Oak of Arc? Is it the same as mine? We'll find out.
So I had two.
Okay.
I had a lot of trouble with Han's voice.
Oh, okay.
That kind of bothered me, but really, really, truly, what bothered me was the Vader and the George Lucas
Okay.
scenes.
That is mine.
It was so bad.
Yeah.
They should have just left it as like Vader being dumb, which actually did kind of frustrate me too. Like, ugh, why'd they make Vader dumb again? Like, I feel like he's always the butt of like the Emperor and Vader jokes, you know? Like,
Yeah.
the Emperor always treats him like he's stupid. But this was just like, oh man, they really had to hold his hand, and it was insulting. And it was just like George came into the scene.
Yeah,
and
George
had, like,
Lucas
had the
comes in. It's like, you're not in the scene.
his voice was bad too.
It
Like,
was
I don't know who
bad.
plays his voice. I'm
It
sorry,
was
but
bad.
no, it's not the right person. Yeah,
No. Well, I mean, it breaks the fourth wall, which they never do in anything
breaks the fourth
else.
wall.
It also kind of breaks the timeline stuff, which I guess they're playing fast and loose with, because Anakin is also in this as Anakin,
Mhm.
not as Vader. So it's like it doesn't really even make sense. And I guess that's the joke. Like Vader keeps trying to.
Yeah,
George
you're
Lucas,
not in this.
yeah,
You're
George Lucas
not
is
in
like
this.
anyone can fit in the suit or whatever. I think I could have excused that if it would have been like actual comic relief, but it was just kind of cringy.
It would have been funny if they were like, "What? Who are you?"
Yeah, that's true.
I'm
Yeah,
Anna. And then he just like backs out. I
yeah,
think that would have been like, okay, that's pretty good. Like,
yeah.
yeah, he's not supposed to be
Or
there.
yeah, have
You
him
know, and he
have
almost
him
gave
be
himself
like,
up.
oh, a little too early on that one. Sorry, my
Yeah,
bad.
yeah.
You know,
Too
gotta
early, my bad.
back
Just
out of
like,
the room.
yeah,
Yeah,
he like sees Anakin. Wait, wait,
yeah, I gotta go. I gotta.
hang on. All
Yeah,
right. And he just like, yeah, I gotta go. That would have been great. And then they just
I
left
would
it,
have laughed.
right? They just
Yeah,
left it. But they did this scene 3 times in the movie. And even at the very, very end, they had it again. And it was like, oh,
yeah,
why did you do
yep,
that? You just ruined the momentum of the
yep,
end of the
yep.
movie
True.
with that.
Yeah.
What about your Ichiwawa moment?
Some of these things, I like that they just sort of remind me why I like Star Wars so much. And I thought that
Mhm.
it was just very cool to see Yoda and Han have a little like story together, because obviously those are
Yeah.
characters who never interact in any way.
Mhm.
I don't think that I've read anything that happens, or like I don't, and probably in some like holiday special Lego something that happens at some point. But even with the goofiness, like it was actually kind of a serious story, and so seeing like
Yeah.
Yoda in that era and like young Han paired together and seeing how those characters played off each other, I was just like, this is so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was it.
Yeah.
Just just seeing that unconventional pairing and actually kind of seeing some real, like those actual, younger versions of those characters come out in a way that I felt like was pretty successful. And yeah, it made me smile. So I'm going to give it to that.
Yeah. Mine is close to that.
Okay.
I liked the Yoda scene when the thermal detonator was
Oh,
about to
yeah.
go off and he just like parts it.
Yeah.
I thought that was so cool. I was like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
that's like showing off Yoda's power,
Yeah.
his ability. Instead of just turning it off, he could have just like flipped the button back and turned it off, but instead he just like
Yeah.
takes it completely apart. I thought
Yeah.
that was cool. And the Ventress slow-mo scene.
Yeah, the Yoda lightsaber scene was also kind of cool.
Yoda lightsaber. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I think I wrote in my notes before I transferred it over basically all of the slow-mo scenes. I thought all of the slow-mo scenes were used really well with the lightsabers and all that stuff, and then Asajj Ventress kind of like the camera angle that they used to throw the pieces that she used to throw the pieces out felt like you were part of the scene. I think they did really, it was almost like cinematography for Legos Star Wars, which is like the last place you would look for like high quality cinematography, but it really added to the scene that you were like, this stuff was coming at you and all of a sudden it was built into a droid. So it was just like, whoa, what a great idea. Like you could have all those parts and you would just throw them out if you were a Jedi or a Sith and they could put together to make, a droid or a weapon or something like that. So that was really cool.
Yeah.
I also did, I know you didn't like it, but the callback scene with the cantina, like the oh wait, don't you remember? And it is funny to think about, like, no, they wouldn't have remembered because it didn't happen yet. But it was still really funny to like watch that scene on his little monitor.
Yeah.
I just thought that was really funny. Like,
I agree.
That's the original.
I agree. I wouldn't say that I didn't like it. Maybe that is what I said, but I guess I'm saying it's not that I didn't like it. It kind of threw things off for me. And like, I know you're not supposed to think about it. You're just supposed to be like the cantina scene from Star Wars.
Is that breaking the fourth wall? I think that's breaking the fourth wall.
Yeah,
right?
I think so.
Technically.
Yeah. All right. It's an anachronism. How about that?
Yeah, like when Austin Powers, Dr. Evil's like, oh, I said that. I said that once, and then you see like a scene from like he's like, see, I said that.
Right.
And you're like, wait a minute, what? Like,
or the classic in Spaceballs when they put Spaceballs the movie in and have to rewind. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. Oh, Spaceballs 2 is coming out soon.
That's true. So I guess we will have to cover that awful Spaceballs cartoon whenever Spaceballs comes out.
That's true. We are. Yeah. Spaceballs, the TV show.
That's right.
Spaceballs, the cartoon. The kids love it.
Yeah. You mentioned Rebuild the Galaxy, and I thought of that a little bit watching this as well, because one of the things that I really appreciated about this was it is such a complete story.
Mm-hmm.
Han's introduction into the story, is kind of what drives things. And then it's sort of like start, middle, finish. It's a nice, tidy little thing like Rebuild of the Galaxy was. And again, production values and stuff, you can see that they put a little time and money into this. And I think as a result, it's a really good. I wish I would have bought that Blu-ray all those years ago, because I just think it's a good standalone thing. It would sit well with the Star Wars collection. So.
It's not a recycled story, which seems to be a lot of what Lego Star Wars has done, was kind of just like play out a story that already exists, or take a story that exists and change it. And so like someone could say, well, I mean, that is what Rebuild the Galaxy is. And it's just like, well, no, it's not. Even though they do kind of flip everything, it's still its own unique story woven into flip-flopping everything.
Right.
That's why I think it is so good. And that this does remind me of that. It's its own unique story. It is taking characters that exist and kind of changing the way things happen. You know, Cody and Yoda are like, let's go, and they do their thing, and Han joins
Cody was
them,
an interesting choice too, actually. Now you bring up Cody.
Yeah,
it was interesting. Well, I mean, it wasn't like Captain Rex, or I don't know. It just it felt like, oh, that's kind of a fun character to grab and bring in, because it wasn't all of the clones, or it wasn't like, a little cadre of clone troopers. It was just Rex, which was kind of fun. So
Lobot was in it too. I mean, he's probably should be like,
good point,
really, really young. And he did when he quit and he ran away. He took his like bionic brain thing off, which I thought was really funny. I'd be like, wouldn't he be dead without that? Like,
maybe he's pre-Lobot. Maybe he's not.
He's
there's a graphic novel that's just called Lando, and it's about like Lobot and everything. It's so good. If you haven't read it,
I think you've told me about that.
yeah,
I do gotta read
it's
that.
worth a read. Yeah, that'd be a fun one to cover. I had a good time with this. How many yub nubs do you give this one?
Man, this was really tough. When I thought about it, I was like, I don't want to think about how many yub nubs because it was good, but I didn't want to like give it too good. I don't know. It's like I don't know. Would 4.5 be too high? Are you going with like
That's
four
what
and
I
a
was
half?
gonna say. 4.5.
Okay, I'm confident with that then.
Okay.
Yeah, because I was like, man, he was so good, and it like yeah, there was this stuff that bothered me, but like, there's been stuff in the past that's like, all right, that's unforgivable. There was really nothing in here that was like, it was just preference,
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just preference. So
Yeah.
like, okay, I didn't really think that joke was funny, or
I feel like I docked points just for the George Lucas stuff. I mean, that was the stuff that I was like, oh, come on. Because
oh man,
even though it's Lego and designed to be just like more silly than anything, I appreciate it maintaining somewhat of a serious, cohesive kind of.
you
Serious
were like,
isn't the
who's
right
that
word,
scene
but
for? Who's
yeah,
that scene for? Like
yeah,
most of the kids watching, they have no idea who that is. They're
right,
not gonna be like, oh, that's George Lucas. You
right,
ask any like 10-year-old who is this guy, they're gonna be like, I don't know, some old guy.
yeah,
And it's like,
yeah.
oh, well, it's George Lucas. He
It just
created Star Wars. And they'd
it
be like,
just
oh,
takes you
okay,
out. It just takes you out of it in a
it
way
takes you
that
out.
I
Yep.
think is unfortunate. So
During rather
yes,
like intense scenes too.
yeah, it's true. Yeah, I don't understand why they. I guess just maybe the time. I don't know, but yeah,
Yeah.
that was the downside there for me. Next time it's going to be all downsides because we're going to be smack dab in the middle of the ocean for Shark Week for our
Oh
annual
yeah.
crossover with 902. And here we go. This time we're going to be covering Sharknado 5 global swarming. How have we done this for 5 consecutive years now?
I don't know. I don't know, but I'm so surprised we're on 5.
Yeah.
I think 5. I don't think I've seen 5. I think I only saw up to
I think
4.
that's what you said last year.
Um, yeah,
The fourth awakens was your
the Fourth Awakens. It was the last one I had seen, and I
yeah,
think I remember when you were like, "Yeah, we're gonna do Sharknado." I looked it up, and I was like, "Whoa, there was like 8."
yeah,
I was like, I thought there was like, I thought
yeah.
there was only 4. Like,
Yeah, there's 6 and then
oh,
there's also I don't know, do we go to Lava Lantula when we're done? I don't know. I don't know.
oh
There's
yeah,
no
Lava
good
Lantula.
reason.
That's
There's
right.
no good
Is there only
reason.
6? Oh, I thought there was way more.
There's 6, but Ian Ziering is in Lava Lantula as Finn. So they're kind
Isn't
of
there like Raptor Conda and like
yeah,
or like
yeah.
some like weird whatever Ian Ziering's in? That's what we just need
I
to
guess. Yeah, we'll
cover
just
that.
follow the
So
career of
whatever's
Ian
next.
Ziering. Yeah, that
Yeah.
sounds good. That sounds good. All right. Well, I mean, I'm gonna be checking this DVD out from the library, and I gotta put Kendra on notice so we can talk Sharknado 5.
I'm excited, man. I'll see you then.
All right.
This Endorian life has brought. It hasn't been brought. It was brought.
Yes, it's currently being brought.
It's been brought. It's been brought already. Okay. This Endorian Life was brought to you by the Radio Meanwhile Network. Be sure to check out some of the other shows on the network like 9021 Here We Go or previously on X-Men. Please rate, subscribe, and share this show wherever you get your podcasts.